Welcome back to another episode of Stream Kings featuring
Green Kings.
Michael's tagline and also me. We're sorry we've been away for a few weeks. It's just life finds a way to get in your way every now and then. So that's what happened. We took a mini break. But as promised, we are back to talk not about Under Paris, but another shark themed movie
Which, if you
called
couldn't
Space
tell
Sharks.
from my lunchbox, it's
Space
Jaws.
Sharks. Do you know that's a real movie?
Space. What is it?
Space Sharks.
No, I can honestly say I haven't seen that one. Is that going to
Exactly
be
what
our
it
next
sounds
one?
like. You know what the trailer reminded me of? Like the sharks reminded me of those like Street Sharks action figures. Do you remember those? You don't
No,
remember? What if I made them
no.
up? What if this is like a Mandela effect, but like only me?
Listen, the Mandela effect is real. The Berenstain Bears are
No.
thick.
It's the Street Sharks is real. You're just
I'm
uncultured.
looking it up.
So
I might be. We've gone on a big tangent here, but I'm ready. I'm excited. Street Sharks. Okay, yeah, I remember Street Sharks. Yeah, okay. I just didn't know that's what they were
yeah, well,
called.
the sharks in Space Sharks look largely like Street Sharks,
Okay.
Street Space Sharks, if
So
you will.
today we're here to talk about Jaws.
Yeah, but like that doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about today. Today we're talking about Jaws, the 1975 classic,
Yes.
Steven Spielberg classic, the original summer blockbuster,
Oh man, such a good movie.
Jaws.
I think, and there's so many things to talk about with this movie, right? Like I think again, apologize for the break. Daniel said it all there. Pretty unpunk rock of us to tease that we're going to talk about Jaws, and then just kidding, on a little
That was
hiatus
not
here.
punk rock of us.
It was
Or I
not.
mean, I guess if you think about it, it's probably pretty punk rock of us to say we're going to do something and then just not do it.
Yeah, emotionally have to deal with things and not do anything for a little while. Just play video games. No, it's good. It's good to be back, and I think both of us were really excited about this movie. So I think, yeah, I think a lot to say about it. I mean, like you said, 1975, 97% Rotten Tomatoes. Got to get my numbers in there. Made 476 million on a $9 million budget, which is insane for 1975. That's wild. So, oh, goodness. And like you said, first summer blockbuster. And on that note, like this movie opened in over, I think it was 465 theaters, which at the time was unheard of. Like this was a big gamble by Universal and the production companies to just kind of go out there and be like, you know what, we're going all in on this movie. Um, so, and it paid off in a lot of
Right.
ways. Oh, I thought you had something else to say. I paused.
But no, I was just
Okay,
like, right. I was
cool.
agreeing
Yeah,
with you.
of course. Yeah.
Continue.
You agreed with me? Wow. Okay, nice. All right, cool. So just some other production stuff because I think there's a lot that's gone
Fingers
into
crossed.
for what?
Fingers crossed. I didn't believe you. Go on.
Some production things, which I mean, like if you haven't seen Jaws, watch Jaws. Like that's got to be the baseline here. But I would encourage anyone to also like watch some making of stuff for this movie because it's incredible. There's really a lot that like goes with it. I was telling Daniel before we got on, like I was watching just some YouTube stuff. Like this movie started without a script. It doubled its budget, tripled its shooting time. Spielberg kind of foolishly insisted on filming in the Atlantic, which posed some problems. you know,
Right.
um, the animatronic shark did not behave like at all. Like it just there were so many things that kind of went wrong with this movie, but it turned out incredibly. Like I think the footprint that this movie has is undeniable. So, and we can
Right.
talk more about that as we kind of get through. But
Right. And so, for if you have not seen it, I'm not going to give you a spoiler alert because it's pretty self-explanatory. But in idyllic northeastern beach town, experiences the terror of a man-eating shark on its most profitable weekend of the year.
Did you make that up or did you just read it off the internet? Because that was pretty good.
No, I just made it up.
Wow, you're so smart.
So the town, in the throes of terror, must choose between its very survival or the survival of its citizens.
And of course, like any responsible mayor,
He chooses
the town.
money.
The town. Yeah.
Correct.
So
Much like the Paris mayor in another shark themed movie we recently reviewed.
it's like they were inspired. Wow.
Correct. Correct. It's so
Uh,
weird how that happened, right?
crazy. Dan, before we start hopping into too much other stuff, how'd you get introduced to Jaws? Do you
In
remember?
my grandma's house.
Yeah? You remember like explicitly like
Yeah, like explicitly my grandmother's house. And I think I've talked about it on here before too. Um not nothing like wild, but I really was I was allowed to watch pretty much whatever I wanted at her house if she
Mhm.
was okay with it.
Mhm.
And I remember specifically watching this on like a VHS, but not like the VHS copy, a VHS that she had put into the like VCR, recorded it from the TV, and then we watched it. Like had to fast
I
forward the
love that.
commercials and all that stuff. Did not care. Thought it was the coolest movie I'd ever seen. That and Jurassic Park. Those are
Which
probably the two most formative movies of my childhood.
and both of those are great movies, so like it's not unfair to feel that way, right? You know, it's not like you watched I don't
Hmm.
know, trying to think of a bad example. Under Paris and said this is the best movie ever.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Which
Actually, it's a
has its
joke. I
place.
would never slander that movie.
Right. So
Would
um
never slander that movie.
no slander here on Stream Kings. Not for that anyways. We'll talk a lot about Under Paris, but not that movie. Um, I for me, like I was definitely late, which I am for a lot of these things. You know, I think there's common themes for both Daniel and I probably in some of these first like exposed to. You know, I remember hearing like the dun, 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 you know, people would like play it on the piano or whatever. Like I knew of Jaws, but I probably hadn't seen it until I was probably like post grad, honestly, post grad from college before I just sat down and was like, I need to watch this movie. I'd seen bits and pieces and things like that, but
Really? See, I
yeah,
feel like we talked about. I guess not,
yeah. I
but
mean,
I didn't
I
know
mean, I
that.
may have, but I really don't remember it. I mean, I remember liking the
Hmm.
idea and the concept because, like, you know, I rode the ride at Universal back in the day, so like, I had a concept, an idea of what it was about. Probably enough to like fake my way through a conversation. But this was one of those though, which this is not that important, but this is one of those that like I love when theaters will take old movies and put them back into the theater so you can like see them on the big screen. And this is one of the few movies that I've been able to
Hmm.
go back and like rewatch in a theater, and it was just like that's such an incredible experience. So, but love Jaws, one of my faves. It's on a poster in my living room. So, you know, it's a great movie.
Is that your like fave?
No, I don't think I could pick one. I mean, if you go
The
by,
pause. The no.
I had to truly digest this orange dreamsicle rain. Not a sponsor, just a really good beverage. Oh, goodness. All right. So,
Right.
great movie. Let's talk about some notes. So, upon rewatch, there's just some things that I thought was like funny, interesting, whatever. Um, at the very beginning, the very first scene when it's just the girl and the guy like going off in the beach, the first kill of the shark. The dude sits down on the beach and says, "I'm not drunk," and then passes out. He's gone. He's just like, that's 100% like what that's kind of a sign right there. Then you're drunk, pal. And I just
Right.
thought it was funny.
It's very it's one of the more realistic scenes because somebody who's drunk would definitely tell you that they're not.
Right, right.
So, fun fact. I work in the field and that's how it works oftentimes.
That was minor, and we touched about this
Are
next
you
one
high right now? No, definitely not. Definitely not.
with like
Okay.
eyes are
Okay.
like red. um, the mayor. We talked about him for a second earlier. I remember, do
Mhm.
you remember in COVID when, like, peak COVID, when like everybody was like, not to get political here, that's not my goal, but um, everybody was
Mhm.
comparing like governors who wanted to like open stuff or keep it open to this mayor because it's like, oh, let's
Yes.
keep it open. Oh, well, it's July 4th weekend. That's like when Brody's trying to shut the beach down and he's just like, and that's just the first step, and then we got to worry about all. It's like, man,
Right.
like this guy, he played it super well though.
Right. Played a dirtbag. Great.
A plus dirtbag
Great
hurry.
dirtbag.
Um, well done, sir. The suspense in the first shark attack scene. So out at the beach, and we can talk a little bit about like the fear of the unknown and some of that kind of stuff. But like that scene when I was rewatching, like I just thought it was so like perfectly and incredibly shot because like it goes from
Mhm.
it focuses on so many like vulnerable people. Like it goes to like a dog, it goes to like a kid, it goes to like a couple like in the in a wave, and then all of a sudden,
Mhm.
little Tommy or whatever his name is, like he becomes the victim. But just like how like the camera was panning and how it was going, it was just like we don't know, and it just kind of like it's
Right.
incredible. Like Spielberg did such a good job overall with this movie. But that's just one thing that I noticed is like, wow, this was very intentional. So
Right. And even like I think every single scene is like that shark attack scene. And I think
mhm,
that that's really um like the first one for me, like the very beginning,
mhm,
like it combines so many things that I think we as people are scared of in
mhm,
general. And that's, the dark, shark attacks,
mhm,
the open water, that kind of thing. And then to have her be without clothes, which whether it was intentional or not, but it's a
mhm,
very vulnerable
yeah,
state as
mhm,
well.
yeah,
It's like this is somebody at their most vulnerable, not thinking anything about it. And much like in the next scene, like, if you didn't know anything about shark attacks and you were to look at that scene, that looks pretty chill. It's families,
and that's one that I
dogs,
was yeah,
families, kids. They're on vacation. You're supposed to be having fun. This isn't supposed to turn into a nightmare,
mhm,
and it does. So,
yeah, yeah, and like. What were people afraid of at the beach before this movie? Like, do you think that this movie like increased some of that fear of like shark attacks?
yeah, no, it definitely did. And I think that I don't know I can't remember if Spielberg has said anything, but I know the author of the book, so it's based on a book,
Mhm,
but I know the author of the book, Peter Benchley, has since said that I think he regrets even writing it
mhm,
because of the stigma that it eventually attached to sharks. Because I think I'm not a marine biologist as much as I and George Costanza would like to be. Um, but I think statistically, recent news stories aside, obviously, I think statistically that they're not frequent, given
yeah,
how many people go to the beach year after year after year.
right,
Um, but at the same time, like you said, post this movie, it was like that was like number one fear.
yeah,
Oh my gosh, there could be a shark out there. What about
yeah.
that? Let's just like in that movie,
What about that man-eating shark in that
So
movie?
I don't know,
Yeah, yeah,
hurricanes. Maybe they were afraid of hurricanes.
that's fair.
Riptide.
Probably. And going into the water too quickly after you've eaten. cramping up.
Did you say after you eat it?
After you've eaten. Like,
Oh.
didn't your mom make you wait like 20
I
minutes
really
in
thought, I
the
thought you
water?
said going into the water too fast after you eat it. I was like, what?
Listen, we're gonna move on. It's
I
been
think
a
you
long
said,
day.
I'm gonna go back and watch this. I think you said eat it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go back before I post it. I'm gonna edit it out, so you're not gonna be able to know. But anyways, um, let's see. This was just a really cute scene when at dinner when Brody and his son are sitting across from each other, and like Brody's son just kind of like starts mimicking him like everything that he does. I just thought like for a movie that's really
Mm-hmm.
like pretty terrifying and really like but it's still a fun movie. Like this was like a very human moment, and like you could see like I don't know. I think it
Right,
definitely helped build some of the character for Brody and your connection to him.
right. No, I agree.
So, but heartwarming. One other note I had. Go ahead. Oh, I
I
thought.
didn't say anything.
Well, you just laughed. So, okay.
I was laughing at you.
Why?
I did. I was laughing at you.
Why?
What's your next point? Just what's the thing you have written down? Tell me. Look at your little note and tell me.
Quint was actually a teddy bear. I liked so because he put off this like big bad persona, right? You're first introduced to him like
Right.
dragging his nails across a chalkboard, which is grotesque. I hate that sound. It's awful.
Horrific.
But
Arguably the scariest part of the movie.
more scary than Jaws.
It's just the sound. Arguably more scary.
When he's at the end of the boat. Anyways, like he helped Brody with the knot. He was watching for him, like when trying to help catch a shark. Like he's like your granddad who's just like trying to be kind of like scary and angsty, but really he's just like he's a good dude. And I thought that was I really liked his character. That dude was awesome.
Yeah,
That's all.
he's a good character.
Yeah,
They're
thanks.
all really great characters.
They are. They are. Who's your favorite? If you had to pick one,
Mhm.
who is your favorite?
Quint.
Copycat. Okay. All right. And
Right, fine. I'll
why?
pick.
Why?
What do you want me to do? Pick the
No, why?
mayor?
Why Quinn? No,
Hooper?
Mayor.
The biologist?
He was pretty good. Richard Dreyfuss did a pretty good marine biologist.
He's got a great boat. That's what
He
I'm gonna
has a
pick.
pretty sick boat.
That's what I had to pick on Hooper's boat. Right. So the three main characters, again, for anybody that doesn't know, is the sheriff of the town that's being attacked. Um, they call in a marine biologist played by Richard Dreyfuss. I don't remember his first name. All I remember is Hooper, Hope, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to come and check it out, and eventually Quint, who they go out on the boat with to hunt the shark after they have eventually decided
Nobody,
that it is in fact a danger.
nobody really goes by their first name. His name is Matt. I don't ever remember Matt Hooper. He's always Hooper. Brody is always Brody, not Martin.
Right? Right. Brody, Quint, Hooper.
Yeah. So anyway,
Little Kitster boy.
couple questions before we get into some categories and awards. So,
Mm-hmm.
Quint's monologue of the Indianapolis goes down one of the best dialogues. No prep. Anything else that you can think of off the top of your head that beats that?
I wouldn't say that's tough. I don't know if I'd say it beats it, but one that's always stuck out to me is Tommy Lee Jones' monologue at the beginning of No Country for Old Men.
Okay. I don't remember that particular.
Where he was talking about his life as the sheriff, his dad is like the sheriff before him, and all that stuff.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's
But
good.
like I said, maybe not as good, but that's always one that it's always stuck in my head
Sure.
when we talk about like monologues, like movie monologues. So
Yeah. 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 Nothing like came to mind. Not to necessarily argue like that point or anything, but like that monologue like is incredibly powerful because like I think you go from like they're comparing like their scars and different stuff to then and they're very like fun and lighthearted, and then all of a sudden you get to Quint and he's like, I got this when I was in,
Hmm.
in the military on the boat on this USS Indianapolis, and talks about it, and just
Hmm.
like the whole tone shifts completely, and like you really understand like where he's like where he's coming from, and probably like I think probably why he's doing this mission and why he's kind of devoted his life to like getting sharks and catching sharks. So, but
Right. Yeah. And I think it's really interesting, that like not only is his delivery of the monologue what makes that, but you said like the whole tone changes, and part of that
mhm,
is also watching, Hooper and Brody listen to it and react, is because it's
mhm,
all been a big joke to an extent, up till that
yeah,
point. It's been pretty lighthearted up until this point.
right.
Um, and then he starts delivering it, and like the whole everybody's face just changes. Um, so.
And that's really like that kicks off like the whole end of the movie. Like that's where it really gets serious.
Hmm.
Jaws attacks like not long after that, and you really start to see them like
Hmm.
it goes 100 miles an hour the rest of the movie. So um, there were a lot of things that made this movie important and impactful. Um, I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna save it for the end for our freshest take
Okay.
award. We can talk about some of the other things. All right. That's all I've got. Any other
Hmm.
notes or something that you want to talk about before we do categories and awards?
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. Kicking it off. Number one, our favorite category. Has our boy Dustin Robertson seen this movie? What do you think?
No.
Do you think he would though?
No.
Really? Is it too scary
Um,
or too long?
I think it's too not Jack Reacher.
Tom Cruise isn't in this movie enough? Not enough football plays?
Tom Cruise isn't in this. Do you think when he's saying Jack Reacher, do you think he means the Amazon TV series or the Tom Cruise movie?
I think the Tom Cruise movie. You think he means a TV show?
Okay.
I mean, he mentions
I don't
it.
know. That's
He
what I was
talks.
just.
He
That's what I
says,
was just asking.
"Remember the Titans" and Jack Reacher. So that's about it. So I'm assuming he means the
Yeah,
movie.
and Home Alone 2, right?
Probably. I feel like
I
he
thought he said Home Alone 2. Well, but not even the original. It's like Home Alone 2.
owned two. Lost in New York, which is a banger. I'll give him that. Um, I
Right.
I, I feel like uh maybe this one's too serious and scary because I know he's not like a scary movie guy. But I don't know.
Hmm.
I feel like he could be convinced. So, all right, next
Right.
category.
I think so too.
What's that? I thought you had something else. Okay.
I said I
Disney.
think so too. He could
Nice.
be convinced.
Look at us agreeing. Heyo. All right. Disneyfication. This one is easy.
Right, because it already has been.
Right.
Not at Disney, but
It was so good. I need to take a minute and just talk about the ride. Did you get to do it? Do you remember did you even go to Universal when you were younger?
no. I had never been to either of those parks. That's not true. I had only been to Universal once prior to when I started coming down to see you in
Okay.
October every year. And honestly, that was, I mean, that had to have been like 10 years ago now. So I couldn't tell you. I don't remember if I did it then or
Yeah.
not.
Well, I forget the year that it closed. But it is in like it's now taken over by Harry Potter in the Universal Studios side, which like we can say is a was a good trade. But like this ride was really well thought out. Like the whole concept of the ride was like you're going back to Amity because after all the shark attacks they need to raise tourism and everything. So they do tours, like boat tours
Mhm.
of like where some of these violent attacks happen. You get to see like Hooper's house and stuff like that. Not Hooper, Brody's house. And then shark attacks. And it, like you were like being attacked by a shark. And it like as a 7-year-old, like I remember this ride. And it was great. It was
Mhm.
great. It makes me sad that it's gone. So, but that's it. That's all I need. I just needed to talk about that. Thanks for being my therapist for a few minutes.
You're welcome.
Bill me later. All right. What next? What do you got category wise?
I don't have it pulled up. Do
Oh,
you have
okay.
it pulled up?
I do. Yeah. All right. Disney. No, did that one. All right. Hot date. This one's easy. Easy peasy. There's only one right answer.
Which, to be fair, could also be a point of criticism and has been more recently. A lot of times people go back and rewatch really, I don't say really old, but like older movies,
Mm.
through a more modern eye, which I think is okay. I think it's good and helpful, and I think it could, help us move forward. There are next to no women in this movie, you
The
know,
only one you
um, which could be a criticism of it, and therefore the only woman we can really choose if it's date wise, would be Ellen Brody.
Ellen Brody.
So,
Yeah. Yep. I'm gonna list off some answers really quick. So she's a very kind, supportive wife. Like the moment where like um her and the chief are talking about their son being on the water, and she's like, hey, like, he just wants to play in the boat, blah 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 blah. And he's like, listen,
mhm,
these sharks are dangerous. And he's like reading the book and everything. And then she's like, you know what, you're right. Like she may not even like believe in that, but she's like, yes, I'm with you. And I'm like, I just think it's very good, very nice. And the only other like female character that we get to know really well um is whatever that kid's name that dies name's mom. And then she just slaps the crap out of Chief Brody. So
right,
uh,
right,
she really took it out on him. But all
right.
right, National Treasure. If you could take one piece of memorabilia from this movie that's not a boat, what are you taking and why?
Dang.
Fine, you can take a boat.
Um, I,
We know you want to.
let me think.
Okay, I'll do mine while you're thinking.
Okay,
Mine's a
all right.
toss up. I really want the mayor's suit jacket with the anchors on it. It's just very classy, very like northeastern, like oceanside town. I
Is
just
it
think
classy?
uh,
Is it classy? Is that what we want to
no,
go with?
no, it's pretty tacky, but it's just the vibe that I'd be looking for.
No.
Or I want the vandalized Amity Island sign where they take it and like where it says like come visit and it's, like they paint it over, her face and all that kind
Mm,
of stuff. I think that'd be cool too. What about you, pal?
I want
You can have the boat, Dan.
Quint's hat.
Oh, okay. All right. Is that your actual answer, or are you
Or
just saying?
any of the jaws that he has, the shark jaws that he has up in
Ooh,
his little shed area, the dock.
yes. Okay. But we can take a second talking about Hooper's boat if you want to, because it was pretty sweet.
No,
Yeah, and it
that's
basically had
fine.
like a
I don't have to pick a
TV.
vote. No, I don't have to pick a
It
vehicle.
had a TV in it, Dan. I'm getting you were gonna turn that down. I love how he's just like when they're going out at nighttime and they're just like, yeah, my parents are super rich, and so I just get to do whatever I want, which is research sharks. If you were independently
I
wealthy,
forgot about that. That's such a
yeah,
wild thing. It's basically like, yeah, my family's rich, so I have this boat and I can search for sharks.
I can do what I want.
That's why I do what I do. That's
Yeah.
so weird.
What would you do if you if you were just super independently wealthy and you didn't need to like work to pay your bills?
archaeology or paleontology.
I've seen too many Indiana Jones movies. I think I'd be afraid of being like, shot by a Nazi or something. Like the movies.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've seen the movie. I know what you're talking about. I've seen them.
Just making sure you're familiar.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't know what I
familiar.
would do. I'd probably work for Disney, but I'm not independently wealthy, but I'd still probably do the exact same thing I'm doing right now.
And you're still, that's what you're doing right now.
Exactly. That's what I said. But maybe I'd just be like not a manager. Maybe I would just, say hi to people all the time. That'd be nice. All right. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah.
Park greeter. That could be fun. Dream job. Park greeter. All right. This one's tough. It always is. And truth be told, I cheated a little bit. Trading places. If you were to take anybody from acting history, you don't have one?
You cheated?
Yeah.
No, I was gonna pick Jeff Goldblum to be Hooper.
Ooh, I like that. Okay. Why? That's good. I like that a lot.
Just because I don't know, it may have ended up making it too well, I feel, like Hooper is in some ways the comic relief. He's not
Mhm.
outright funny,
Yeah.
but he is kind of a more lighthearted character. And I think that in Jurassic Park, ironically another Steven Spielberg movie, Ian Malcolm, the
Hmm.
character played by Jeff Goldblum, was arguably the same, you
Yeah.
know, kind of given the same tone, and so I think that maybe putting him there just makes sense if you're gonna pick even from Spielberg's filmography,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like
I think
that.
it
I
would
like
just
that
work
a lot.
really well.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's like you were saying, kind of the human, relatable character. The other, not that the others aren't relatable at all, but um, Hooper's just another guy. He's just super rich and drives boats around. That's all. But
Mhm. He's just
uh,
like us.
just like us. Yeah. So this one was tough. So yes, I did cheat a little bit. I I took a I took one of the casting, like, who else they were looking at, and I took that. So they initially had tried to cast Chief Brody, and put Robert Duvall into that spot. And
Okay.
I think it would have worked really well. Duvall's just coming off at this point in 1975, just coming off of Godfather Part 2. So he's like big enough, but he's still not like huge. And I think that's one thing that's cool about
Mhm.
this movie and a couple other ones that we've done is like relative unknowns as far as casting goes. Um, so I really enjoyed that. Well, we all know most of these people now going back, but in 1975, they were like, I don't know, I don't really. These guys are fine. Been in like I think Quint had been in what The Sting, I think was his big one before that, but other than that,
Mhm.
not a ton of stuff. So I think Duvall would have brought like a similar qualities as far as our guy. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, what's his name? Roy Scheider. Um, very like still kind of like stoic, serious, kind of innocent, but also like experienced at the same time. Kind of
Mhm.
like just fly on the wall kind of guy, but also like can take it. Can be serious when he needs to. So family man. So
Mhm.
that's my
That's a good
take.
one.
Thanks. Steven thought so too, but I think he turned it down. So all right, goat. Who won the movie?
I guess technically he didn't win the movie, but the shark, I think,
Hmm.
you know, although I guess given the technical difficulties over the course of filming, Bruce. That's
Yeah.
what it's called. Bruce, that was his name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Steven Spielberg's lawyer's
the
name.
argument could be made that he's the least goat, you know. But at the end of the day, it's a movie about a shark
Yeah.
that's hunting people, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So,
Yeah. Well, and I think, and we
and
kind
people weren't scared to go in the water because Quint was out there.
of,
They were scared to go in the water because Jaws might be out there.
yeah. Yeah. Well, and we kind of touched on this, but like kind of that fear of the unknown. Like, I mean, you had the shark and it was awesome, but even outside of that, like just like that, just the concept of an unknown fear, I think was really good, really well done.
Mhm.
So, I even
Right.
though you joked
Like,
about
they
the,
were no, I was saying I mean, like, obviously, the thing that they were afraid of was a shark, but the reality is it really was kind of the fear of, like, the unknown and, like, change because he could be anywhere out there,
Mhm,
but anything else could also be out there,
right,
Like, you just don't know, like, the ocean is so big and
hmm
it's so complex that, like, it's just it freaks me out,
there could
to be
be a big
honest.
shark somewhere down there, honestly, and we'd have no idea. We'd have no clue. So,
Mhm,
even though you were joking about him, I have Quint as my goat. I think he just does really, really well in the movie. Going from like a very like intense and serious character when he's first introduced, to still being that like deep down, but also kind of like a charismatic and caring character. Especially like what is it, the final third where they're actually out on the boat, doing things. So I think great movie all around. I think
mhm.
you can make an argument for, you could say John Williams, you could argue for Spielberg, you could argue for so many. But I really liked, oh my God, Robert Shaw. So as Quint, I thought he did really well. So that's my thoughts. All right, last category,
Good deal.
freshest take.
Fresh take.
Yeah, mine's not really a take necessarily, but like the most lasting part of this movie is kind of what I focused on.
You go first.
Okay. I mean, I've been talking about it a lot, so to me, it's like not showing the shark. I think just the idea and the concept of like an unknown fear, has been just like, I don't think this is the first time that that concept was really like taken, but with a shark, definitely. But really being able to like key in on like, okay, this creature or something is terrorizing these people. We know it's a shark at some point, but we don't see
Mhm,
it. And I think you look at movies like Alien, and or even like Nope most recently, is like we know that something is there, but it may be it's a grand reveal or a reveal over time. It's not just one like, okay,
mhm,
like I'm Freddy Krueger out here, like you know. So, but I think
mhm.
you could argue for so many different things, like why, and the reasons this movie is important. There's so many, and after you do yours, I just want to kind of like go over just very briefly like a couple of them. But I don't have a lot, but just like,
Yeah, and I think we've already kinda touched on mine too, but I think you don't the way there's like a cycle to the way movies are kinda released, which ironically, it's kind of changing now, with streaming
mhm,
and things like that. But there used to kind of be like a cycle of how movies were released. Like you put movies you didn't really care about or you knew were gonna bomb, like January, February, you
mhm,
know? And then spring it was kinda like this, but then summer was when you released the things you knew you had a hit,
mhm,
you know? You put it out there, it was big budget, big actors, everything. But I don't think that you have those. I think that started with Jaws,
mhm,
and I don't think you have cinema. I don't think you have movies at the theater the way that we have had them since then
mhm.
without the success of Jaws.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It really did change the way we watched movies, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it changed how like we watch, and also, I mentioned at the beginning, like, just the massive like release, like 470 or
Mhm.
465, again, however many theaters it was, like a movie being released at once,
Right.
like that widespread across the United States, like was insane. So yeah, you saw like a lot more
Mhm.
hype about movies, and I think, yeah, I'm with you. I, that's a good one. Um, just
Mhm.
some like a couple big things as well. I guess honorable mentions, practical effects. Like the fact that Spielberg like wanted to film in the Atlantic with a real like huge shark, all that kind of stuff like is huge. Even
Mhm.
like the very first scene, like they're pulling that girl under the water and she's like actually like in pain, right? Some of the stuff that they were
Right.
willing to do, like huge. Um, the
Mhm.
music, I mean, John Williams, and just like the theme is still iconic to this day. Like I said, you say Jaws, people in your head like, dun it, dun it, dun it, dun it, wild. And
Right.
then,
That's arguably even more so than, like, the characters. You almost hear the
yeah,
music first,
yeah,
like, when you sing Jaws.
yeah. And then Spielberg too is the last one. He had done one other project before this point, and it wasn't anything crazy, but this truly launched his career. So like, there's so many like important and impactful things that came from Jaws and its success. And I think, like you said, kind of all encompassing. Like, film and cinema wouldn't be what it is today without Jaws. I don't think so.
Mhm.
Glad we agree.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. 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 All right. Any last like parting thoughts? Anything we didn't get to fully cover before we close this out?
I do not. I think we hit it all really well.
Okay. Cool. 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 Well, again, we apologize for the lengthy hiatus. Daniel, we didn't talk about this at all, but we did promise our fans that we were going to tell them what movie we were going to watch, um, in our pod. So you're going to choose something in like 3 seconds. What movie comes to you first? What are we watching next?
Oh, no, you can't do that. I can't do that. I'm
All right, we're
I'm
watching.
I don't have the ability to pick quick. You
All
know
right,
this.
okay, you're right. All right, we're watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Let's go. That's one of my favorite movies.
I
That's
know.
one of my favorite movies, not just scary movies.
Yeah, it's a great movie, and I
So,
think it'll be fun. Both Daniel and I, huge Halloween fans. Halloween Horror Nights right around the corner. All those big passes just dropped today, and I'm
mhm,
hyped. It's gonna be a good time.
right.
So I
It
think
was
it'll be,
released late summer.
yeah, yeah. So I think, yeah, it'll be perfect. I think timing
So,
wise and everything. Is this an anniversary year or no? Was it last year?
this is an anniversary, 50th anniversary year.
So yeah,
Fun
it's
fact
fitting.
also about this movie is that some of you may know I briefly wrote for Collider,
Mm,
um, and you have to submit like a sample article, just to showcase like your writing, depending on which section you're applying for.
mm.
And so I picked my sample article was why Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the best 70s horror movie.
Well, there we
So,
go. The next pod is actually just gonna be Daniel reading that piece of writing, and I'm just gonna sit in the back and eat popcorn. So we're gonna have a good time.
in a butcher's apron.
At least it's popcorn I'm eating, not something else. So, all right.
Yeah.
Everybody, again, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, as always, interact with us. We love hearing feedback, love hearing ideas and thoughts and concepts. So please, again, like, subscribe, comment, all that kind of good stuff. Looking forward to talking to you guys in a couple weeks. So without further ado, now this is
Now
podcasting.
this is
I'm just gonna
podcasting.
stop now.